She entered the briefing late, unnoticed. But the moment the commander saw her, he stopped mid-sentence. "Ma'am," he said, eyes wide, because the last time he saw her, she was saving his life behind enemy lines. Commander Sarah Mitchell had been assigned to Naval Special Warfare Training Center for exactly 20 weeks. At 34, with chestnut brown hair always pulled back in a regulation bun and steel gray eyes that seemed to observe everything with quiet intensity, she moved through her medical duties with the kind of professional competence that made her blend seamlessly into the background of intense military training. She wore standard-issue medical officer uniforms, carried a regulation medical bag, and maintained the professional demeanor expected of senior military medical personnel supporting special operations candidates. To the SEAL recruits and most of the training staff, she was simply their assigned senior medical officer, experienced at healthcare, reliable for medical administration, but clearly someone whose expertise was limited to medical rather than operational responsibilities. The recruits knew her through routine medical procedures and health oversight. She conducted comprehensive physical examinations, treated training injuries with clinical efficiency, and maintained their medical readiness with systematic attention to detail. Her medical knowledge was extensive, her diagnostic skills were excellent, and her ability to handle complex medical situations was respected throughout the facility. But she also maintained the kind of professional distance that characterized senior military medical officers, rarely engaging in personal conversations and never participating in tactical discussions or operational planning sessions. Commander Mitchell followed her medical responsibilities with systematic precision, arriving early each day, reviewing recruit medical files, attending safety briefings, and coordinating with training staff to ensure medical support was available during all exercises. Her presence was professional but clearly supportive rather than operational, exactly what was expected from senior medical personnel in a special operations training environment focused on developing warriors rather than supporting medical careers. But sometimes the most supportive people carry the most operational experience. Welcome to Silent Salute, where we discover that the most remarkable operational histories often hide behind the most routine assignments. Before we continue this incredible story, tell us in the comments which country you're watching from today. And if you believe that extraordinary operational experience often conceals itself behind ordinary professional roles, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. We're honored to share these remarkable stories with you. Class 372 was particularly challenging. 16 recruits from diverse military backgrounds, all pushing themselves through training designed to forge America's most elite warriors. The daily routine was relentless: brutal physical conditioning, advanced weapons training, underwater demolition exercises, tactical simulations, and psychological challenges that tested every aspect of human endurance and mental toughness. Through it all, Commander Mitchell provided medical support with the same steady competence that had characterized her entire assignment, ensuring that recruits remained healthy enough to continue their demanding training regimen. The recruits respected Commander Mitchell's medical expertise and appreciated her professional care, but they had also developed assumptions about her understanding of their training challenges and operational realities. She was competent at medical procedures, but seemed disconnected from the tactical complexities and operational demands that defined special operations training. Among the recruits was Petty Officer 2nd Class Marcus Johnson, a former Navy explosive ordnance disposal specialist who'd served multiple combat deployments before applying for SEAL training. Johnson was respected by his fellow recruits for his technical expertise and combat experience, but he shared the common assumption that Commander Mitchell was a medical professional whose background was limited to healthcare rather than operational experience. "Commander Mitchell knows her medical stuff," Johnson had commented to his teammate during their 19th week, "but she's clearly focused on medical administration rather than understanding operational realities. She's here to keep us healthy, not to understand what we're preparing for." Seaman Rodriguez, who'd come from Navy surface warfare, offered some perspective. "Senior medical officers bring valuable expertise, Johnson. She doesn't need to understand tactics to provide excellent medical support." But Johnson's observation reflected the broader perception among the recruits. Commander Mitchell seemed like a competent medical administrator who was supporting their training, but who lacked personal understanding of the operational challenges and tactical complexities that characterized special operations preparation. The situation that would change everything began during the 21st week of training when Class 372 was scheduled for advanced tactical planning exercises. This was one of the most intellectually demanding phases of SEAL training, where recruits learned sophisticated mission planning, threat assessment, and operational decision-making that could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure in actual combat environments. The training was being conducted by Lieutenant Colonel James Harrison, a highly decorated special operations officer with over 18 years of combat experience, including some of the most classified and dangerous missions in recent military history. Harrison was known throughout the special operations community for his tactical expertise, his operational planning capabilities, and his ability to teach complex strategic thinking under pressure. Commander Mitchell was not typically involved in tactical planning exercises, as her medical responsibilities were considered separate from operational training. However, she had been invited to observe the session to better understand the training challenges that recruits faced, which would help her provide more effective medical support. The tactical planning exercise was intensive and realistic, designed to test recruits' ability to develop comprehensive operational plans for complex missions in hostile environments. Harrison was using detailed intelligence briefings, tactical maps, and scenario parameters to create realistic planning challenges. Tactical planning, Harrison explained to the recruits, requires integration of intelligence analysis, threat assessment, resource allocation, and contingency preparation. Your ability to think systematically under pressure will determine mission success and team survival. The training progression included threat analysis exercises, operational timeline development, and decision-making scenarios that replicated the challenges recruits would face during actual special operations missions. Commander Mitchell was observing the exercise from a corner position in the briefing room, taking notes for her medical planning purposes while the recruits worked through their tactical challenges. Harrison was conducting a complex briefing about a hypothetical rescue mission in hostile territory when he described terrain features, enemy positions, and tactical considerations that would influence operational planning. As Harrison continued his detailed briefing, using maps and intelligence photographs to explain the tactical situation, he was focused on teaching recruits systematic approaches to mission planning under challenging conditions. This rescue scenario, Harrison explained, involves extracting friendly personnel from a compound controlled by hostile forces. Your planning must account for enemy strength, terrain limitations, and extraction procedures under fire. The recruits were studying the tactical information with intense concentration, trying to absorb the complex operational details while beginning to formulate their mission plans. But as Harrison was about 15 minutes into his detailed briefing, something unexpected happened that would reveal extraordinary connections and change everything about how the facility understood Commander Mitchell's background. Commander Mitchell entered the briefing room late, having been delayed by a medical emergency that required her immediate attention. She slipped quietly into the back of the room, trying not to disrupt Harrison's ongoing tactical instruction. But the moment Harrison looked up and saw Commander Mitchell, his entire demeanor changed dramatically. His professional briefing manner was replaced by something that looked like shock, recognition, and overwhelming respect. Harrison stopped speaking mid-sentence, his eyes locked on Commander Mitchell with the kind of intense recognition that suggested he was seeing someone from his past, someone whose presence was both surprising and deeply meaningful. "Ma'am," Harrison said, his voice carrying a mixture of amazement and respect that was completely different from his instructional tone. The recruits turned to see what had caused their instructor to stop his briefing so abruptly, but they saw only Commander Mitchell quietly taking her position to observe the training exercise. Harrison continued staring at Commander Mitchell as if he couldn't believe what he was seeing. When she looked up and made eye contact with him, something passed between them, a moment of recognition that suggested shared experiences and mutual respect that went far beyond routine military interactions. "Commander Mitchell," Harrison said, his voice now carrying unmistakable reverence, "I never expected to see you here." Commander Mitchell's response was characteristically professional. "Colonel Harrison, I'm here to observe tactical training for medical planning purposes." But Harrison's reaction suggested that Commander Mitchell's presence meant much more than routine medical observation. The recruits were watching this interaction with growing confusion and curiosity. Their routine medical officer was being treated with obvious respect and recognition by one of the most experienced special operations officers in the military. Johnson stepped forward with obvious curiosity about what they were witnessing. "Colonel Harrison, do you know Commander Mitchell from previous assignments?" Harrison looked at Johnson and then at the other recruits who were clearly confused about the significance of Commander Mitchell's presence. "Gentlemen," Harrison said, his voice filled with respect, "you've been working with someone whose operational experience exceeds that of most special operations personnel." The recruits were stunned by this revelation. Their medical officer was being described as having extensive operational experience by Colonel Harrison. Rodriguez asked the question everyone was thinking. "Colonel, what do you mean by operational experience?" Harrison looked at Commander Mitchell as if asking permission to share information about her background and achievements. Commander Mitchell nodded slightly, indicating that Harrison could provide some context about her previous service. "Commander Mitchell," Harrison began, "saved my life during one of the most dangerous rescue operations I've ever participated in." The revelation hit the recruits like a physical blow. Their medical officer had been involved in rescue operations that included Colonel Harrison. "Ma'am," Johnson said with obvious respect and amazement, "you participated in special operations rescue missions?" But Harrison wasn't finished explaining the significance of Commander Mitchell's background and the connection between them. 3 years ago," Harrison continued, "my team was conducting a classified rescue operation in Afghanistan. We had extracted the primary targets, but our extraction helicopter was shot down during the mission." The recruits were listening with complete attention as Harrison described what sounded like an extremely dangerous operational situation. "My team was trapped behind enemy lines with multiple wounded personnel and no immediate extraction available. We were surrounded by hostile forces and running out of ammunition." Harrison's voice carried obvious emotion as he continued the story. "I was seriously wounded during the helicopter crash and wasn't capable of leading the team's survival efforts." Rodriguez asked the question that reflected everyone's growing amazement. "Colonel, how does this connect to Commander Mitchell?" Harrison's answer revealed the full significance of Commander Mitchell's operational background. Commander Mitchell was part of a rescue team that volunteered to extract us from hostile territory. But when the rescue team encountered overwhelming enemy resistance, she made the decision to continue the mission alone. The recruits were trying to process the magnitude of what Harrison was describing. "Commander Mitchell infiltrated enemy territory, located our position, provided medical treatment for my injuries, and then led our teams escape through several miles of hostile territory while carrying wounded personnel." Johnson was beginning to understand the extent of Commander Mitchell's operational experience. "Colonel, are you saying Commander Mitchell led a rescue operation that saved your entire team?" Harrison's response confirmed what was becoming an incredible revelation. She didn't just lead the rescue. She executed it under conditions that most special operations personnel wouldn't attempt. Commander Mitchell was listening to Harrison's account with the kind of modest discomfort that characterized heroes who preferred not to discuss their achievements. "That was a team effort, James," Mitchell said quietly. "Everyone contributed to the mission's success." But Harrison wasn't finished sharing the significance of Mitchell's operational capabilities and achievements. Commander Mitchell's most remarkable achievement during that mission, Harrison explained to the recruits, was her ability to coordinate medical treatment, tactical movement, and enemy engagement simultaneously. Harrison's voice carried obvious admiration as he continued. She was providing advanced medical care to wounded personnel while leading tactical movement through enemy territory and engaging hostile forces when necessary. The recruits were listening with growing amazement as Harrison described capabilities that exceeded those of most special operations personnel. "Ma'am," Rodriguez said with obvious respect, "how did you develop the capability to integrate medical and tactical operations at that level?" Commander Mitchell's answer provided some insight into a background that none of them had suspected. Previous assignments that required medical personnel to function as full operational team members rather than support personnel. But Harrison understood that Mitchell's capabilities represented much more than general operational training. "Commander Mitchell," Harrison said, "your operational background includes some of the most classified and dangerous missions in special operations history. Johnson asked the question that was becoming increasingly obvious. Commander, are you saying you've served with special operations units? Commander Mitchell's response confirmed what many had begun to suspect. I've served in assignments where medical personnel were required to have full operational capabilities and where medical responsibilities were integrated with tactical and combat functions. Harrison was clearly impressed by Mitchell's willingness to share information about her background, understanding that her operational experience was highly relevant to recruit training. Commander Mitchell, Harrison said, your operational expertise could significantly enhance our tactical training programs. But before Commander Mitchell could respond to Harrison's suggestion, something happened that would demonstrate the full extent of her operational authority and command presence. The tactical planning exercise was interrupted when the facility's emergency alarm activated, indicating a serious security incident that required immediate response. An intruder had gained unauthorized access to the training facility and was moving through the complex in an unpredictable and potentially dangerous manner. Security breach in progress, the facility's public address system announced. All personnel implement immediate lockdown procedures. The security incident created a situation where personnel throughout the facility were potentially at risk, while security forces worked to locate and neutralize the intruder threat. Harrison began coordinating the emergency response, directing recruits to secure positions while communicating with facility security personnel about threat assessment and response procedures. But as the security situation developed, it became clear that the intruder was armed and potentially dangerous, creating a complex tactical situation that exceeded routine security response capabilities. The intruder is armed and has barricaded himself in the weapons storage area, security personnel reported to Harrison. We need tactical response capabilities to resolve the situation safely. Harrison was coordinating with facility security when Commander Mitchell did something that shocked everyone present and revealed the full extent of her operational authority. She stepped forward and, in a voice that carried unmistakable command authority, took control of the entire emergency response. All personnel, this is Commander Mitchell, she announced in a voice that filled the briefing room with absolute authority. I am assuming tactical command of this incident. The room fell into complete silence. The recruits, Harrison, and facility personnel stood frozen as Commander Mitchell transformed from quiet medical officer to operational commander with the kind of presence that characterized the most experienced special operations leaders. Colonel Harrison, Mitchell continued with crisp command authority, coordinate facility evacuation procedures. Recruits will establish security perimeter at designated positions. Her commands were precise, systematic, and demonstrated advanced understanding of tactical response procedures that exceeded the capabilities of most military personnel. Johnson was watching Commander Mitchell's tactical coordination with obvious amazement. Ma'am, how do you know tactical response procedures? Mitchell was coordinating multiple aspects of the emergency response while answering. Tactical incident command was part of my operational training and experience. But Harrison could see that Mitchell's command capabilities represented much more than general tactical training. Commander Mitchell, Harrison said with obvious respect, your tactical command authority exceeds standard operational training. What's your actual background? Mitchell continued her emergency coordination while providing some insight into her qualifications and experience. Previous assignments that required command authority for complex tactical situations and where medical personnel served as operational leaders. As Mitchell coordinated the emergency response, her tactical procedures successfully resolved the security incident with the intruder safely apprehended and no injuries to facility personnel. Security incident resolved, Mitchell announced when the threat was neutralized. All personnel resumed normal operations. The recruits who had witnessed Mitchell's emergency command demonstration were processing what they had seen. Their medical officer had just demonstrated tactical command capabilities that exceeded those of most special operations officers. Rodriguez approached Mitchell with obvious respect and growing understanding of her extraordinary background. Commander, your tactical command capabilities represent extremely advanced training and experience. What kind of assignments required medical personnel to have that level of operational authority? Mitchell's answer provided insight into military roles that most personnel rarely encountered. assignments where medical personnel served as mission commanders and where medical responsibilities had to be integrated with full tactical and operational command authority. Harrison was beginning to understand the full implications of Mitchell's background and capabilities. Commander Mitchell, are you telling us that you've served as a mission commander for special operations? Mitchell's response confirmed what was becoming a remarkable revelation. I've served in assignments where medical officers functioned as operational commanders and where medical expertise was combined with tactical leadership and command responsibility. The recruits were trying to process the magnitude of what they were learning about their medical officer's background. Ma'am, Johnson said with obvious amazement, how many missions did you command? Mitchell's answer revealed the scope of her operational experience. Command experience included multiple classified operations over several years of special operations assignment. Harrison was clearly impressed by both Mitchell's emergency command demonstration and her willingness to share information about her operational background. Commander Mitchell, Harrison said, your combination of medical expertise and operational command experience represents exactly the kind of integrated leadership that modern special operations requires. Over the following weeks, Commander Mitchell transitioned from routine medical support to active participation in tactical training that reflected her extraordinary operational experience and command background. What Commander Mitchell brings to our program, Harrison explained to the training staff, is demonstration that the most effective special operations leaders are those who can integrate medical expertise with tactical command and operational leadership. Mitchell worked with recruits to develop training scenarios that included medical considerations in tactical planning, command, decision-making under pressure, and leadership exercises that tested their ability to integrate medical and operational requirements. The operations I commanded, Mitchell explained to the recruits, required understanding that medical and tactical responsibilities aren't separate functions. Effective special operations require integration of all capabilities under unified command authority. Her training scenarios included realistic command challenges where medical considerations affected tactical decisions, leadership exercises under pressure, and decision-making scenarios that tested recruits' ability to balance medical and operational priorities. The recruits who had initially viewed Mitchell as routine medical support became some of the most dedicated students of integrated medical tactical leadership. Commander Mitchell has shown us that the most effective leaders are those who can integrate multiple capabilities, Johnson told his teammates. Her background demonstrates that medical expertise enhances rather than limits operational command effectiveness. Mitchell's emergency command demonstration became a model for training that emphasized integrated leadership capabilities and the importance of recognizing command authority regardless of assigned specialties. Her operational background, which had been completely hidden during her medical assignment, was revealed to include command of some of the most successful special operations missions in recent military history. These capabilities, Mitchell explained to the medical staff, represent years of training that focused on integrating medical expertise with tactical command and operational leadership responsibility. Mitchell's integrated training programs were eventually adopted throughout Special Operations Commands, establishing new standards for leadership development that emphasized capability integration rather than specialty separation. But perhaps Mitchell's greatest contribution was demonstrating that extraordinary operational experience often conceals itself behind ordinary professional roles, and that command authority can emerge from the most unexpected sources when circumstances require leadership. The story of Commander Mitchell became legendary at the training facility, shared with new classes as an example of how dangerous it can be to make assumptions about people based on their assigned roles or apparent specialties. The most important lesson you can learn here, instructors would tell new recruits, is that operational excellence often hides behind supportive assignments. The person providing medical support might be someone whose command experience exceeds your own. The moment when Harrison recognized Mitchell and revealed their shared operational history became a powerful reminder that extraordinary operational legacies often walk among us unrecognized until circumstances reveal their command capabilities. Years later, when Mitchell had transitioned to other assignments, her legacy lived on in enhanced leadership training programs and in the understanding that true operational excellence requires recognizing and utilizing command capabilities regardless of current assignments. Her story reminded everyone that remarkable operational histories often hide behind routine assignments, and that the most effective leaders are often those whose command experience remains concealed until emergencies reveal their authority and capability. Mitchell's transformation from quiet medical officer to recognized operational commander demonstrated that command presence and tactical authority often hide behind supportive roles, waiting for the right moment to emerge and provide the leadership that critical situations demand. This story was brought to you by Silent Salute. Before we leave you today, here's our question. Have you ever witnessed someone transform from a background role into a position of undeniable authority and command? Have you encountered people whose hidden operational experience suddenly emerged when leadership was needed most? Tell us in the comments about the moments when you realized that extraordinary command capabilities often hide behind ordinary assignments. And if you believe that true leadership often conceals itself behind supportive roles until circumstances demand its emergence, hit that subscribe button to support our channel. Every story reminds us that operational excellence often walks among us unrecognized, and that the most remarkable leaders are often those whose authority emerges only when it's needed most. We'll see you in the next story, where we'll discover another incredible tale of hidden command authority and emergency leadership.